Roadhouse, 1989, remains one of the most iconic action films of all time, filled with unforgettable characters and thrilling fight scenes. But after 36 years, what has become of the legendary cast? From Patrick Swayze's unforgettable portrayal of Dalton to Sam Elliott's tough yet tender performance as Wade Garrett, and Kelly Lynch's memorable role as Dr. Elizabeth Clay, we're diving into the lives of these stars in 2025. Join us as we explore their careers, personal journeys, and how their lives have evolved since the film's release. Find out where the Roadhouse cast is now and what they've been up to. Patrick Swayze played James Dalton in Roadhouse in 1989, when he was 37 years old. Dalton was a man of paradox, both a philosopher and a fighter, a warrior with a code of honor, living by discipline yet plagued by ghosts of violence. His quiet demeanor masked an ocean of pain, and his ability to take a beating without complaint made him almost mythic. Despite his success with Dirty Dancing and Ghost, his career was a storm of highs and crushing lows. He longed to be taken seriously as an actor but was often trapped in the roles of action heroes or romantic leads. His marriage to Lisa Nemi was steadfast, but their inability to have children left a permanent ache in his heart. His deepest sorrow, however, was the loss of his father at a young age, which haunted him throughout his life. Alcohol became a crutch, and his relentless work ethic led to exhaustion and injuries that would never fully heal. Diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2008, he fought fiercely but succumbed on September 14, 2009, at the age of 57. Red West played Red Webster in Roadhouse in 1989, when he was 53 years old. Webster was a quiet fighter, a man who had lost but refused to surrender, standing against tyranny despite knowing he couldn't win. West's real-life story was just as tragic. He had once been at the center of rock and roll history as Elvis Presley's closest friend and bodyguard. But when he dared to speak out about the drug abuse destroying Elvis, he was cast out, exiled from the only world he had ever known. Hollywood never fully embraced him. He was always a character actor, a background figure in bigger stories. His marriage to Pat West endured, but there was always a sadness in his eyes, the regret of a man who had lost something irreplaceable. The years took their toll, and though he lived to 81, his health deteriorated rapidly. On July 18, 2017, an aortic aneurysm claimed his life. He died not as a celebrated Hollywood star, but as a man forever haunted by the ghost of a friend he could not save. Ben Gazzara portrayed Brad Wesley in Roadhouse in 1989, at the age of 59. Wesley was the kind of villain who smiled as he crushed people, reveling in dominance and cruelty. He wasn't a brute, he was worse, calculated, remorseless, and methodical. Gazzara was known for playing complicated men, and he embodied Wesley with an unsettling charm. In real life, his world was equally troubled. A highly respected actor, he worked with John Cassavetes on raw, intense films that never brought him financial security. His marriages were turbulent. He divorced his first wife, Louise Erickson, and his second marriage to Janice Rule ended in pain and betrayal. His third wife, Elka Krivet, stayed by his side, but Gazzara battled depression, struggling with the knowledge that despite his talent, he was never quite a Hollywood icon. Cancer took hold of him in his final years, stripping him of his voice and dignity. He died on February 3, 2012, at the age of 81. Sunshine Parker portrayed Emmett in Roadhouse in 1989, at the age of 62. Emmett was a relic of another time, a man whose wisdom came from hardship, offering guidance to those willing to listen. Parker, too, was from another era, an actor who never saw great fame, a man whose face was familiar but whose name was rarely remembered. He worked tirelessly in Hollywood, taking small roles in films like Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Tremors, but true recognition never came. His personal life was just as quiet, no wife, no children, no family to comfort him in his later years. He lived on the outskirts, both in Hollywood and in life, a drifter without a true home. In 1999, Pneumonia set in, and without anyone to care for him, his condition worsened. On February 17, at the age of 71, he passed away in near obscurity, a man who had given his life to the screen but had nothing left when the cameras stopped rolling. Terry Funk played Morgan in Roadhouse in 1989 at the age of 45. Morgan was a brutish, hot-tempered bouncer, always looking for a fight and embodying the raw violence of the double deuce. Funk, a wrestling legend, built his career on extreme physicality, enduring countless injuries, broken bones, and head trauma that left him in near constant pain. Despite his success in the ring, financial hardships followed him due to poor investments and mounting medical expenses. His longtime marriage to Vicky Funk endured, but the strain of his deteriorating health and erratic behavior weighed heavily on their relationship. In his final years, he battled dementia, a cruel fate for a man once known for his sharp mind in the wrestling world. Confined to assisted living, he was a shadow of his former self, struggling to recognize friends and family. On August 23, 2023, he died at the age of 79, his body and mind shattered from years of punishment, leaving behind a legacy of both triumph and tragedy. Jeff Healey played Cody in Roadhouse in 1989, when he was 23 years old. Cody was the soul of the Double Deuce, a blind musician whose passion transcended his limitations, bringing warmth and fire to the bar's chaos. Healey's real life mirrored his character's struggles. Blind since childhood due to retinoblastoma, he never let his disability define him, but the pain of knowing he would never see the world haunted him. His music brought him fleeting happiness, but the industry was cruel. After the brief fame from Roadhouse, he was pushed aside, his albums overlooked. His personal life seemed stable. He married Christy Hall and had 2 children, Rachel and Derek, but there was always an underlying sadness in his voice, as if he knew time was against him. Cancer returned in 2007, aggressive and unrelenting. He passed away on March 2, 2008, at the age of 41, leaving behind a world that had never truly given him his due. Kimberly Herrin portrayed the party girl in Roadhouse in 1989 at the age of 32. Her character was carefree and seductive, fully embracing the nightlife of the Double Deuce. A former Playboy playmate, Herrin enjoyed a brief but glamorous career in Hollywood, appearing in Ghostbusters and Beverly Hills Cop 2. However, she was often typecast, and as she aged, roles became increasingly scarce. She never married and had no children, and as her acting opportunities faded, she drifted into financial insecurity. In her later years, she faced a long battle with breast cancer, a struggle that drained her emotionally and physically. Once a symbol of youth and beauty, she spent her final years in quiet solitude, far removed from the Hollywood spotlight. On October 28, 2022, she died at the age of 65, her once glamorous life reduced to a painful fight against illness, with few left to remember the vibrant star she once was. Chino Fats Williams played the derelict in Roadhouse in 1989 at the age of 56. His character provided brief comic relief, but his presence hinted at the rough reality of the world within the film. A prolific character actor, Williams appeared in many films but was never a household name, often playing small but memorable roles. His massive frame, once an asset in Hollywood, became a burden as he developed serious health issues, including diabetes and kidney failure. With acting work slowing down, financial struggles mounted, leaving him reliant on friends and limited support from the industry. He never married and had no children, spending his later years in increasing isolation. By the time of his death on April 5, 2000, at the age of 66, he was largely forgotten by Hollywood, dying from kidney failure in quiet obscurity, his contributions to cinema unnoticed by all but the most devoted fans. Kelly Lynch played Dr. Elizabeth Clay in Roadhouse in 1989, when she was 30 years old. Her character was the moral compass of the film, a compassionate and intelligent doctor caught in the violent world of the double deuce. Lynch, an actress known for her performances in Drugstore Cowboy and Curly Sue, had a career that was often overshadowed by Hollywood's preference for younger, fresher talent. She faced the harsh reality of aging in the entertainment industry, watching as lead roles dwindled and opportunities faded. Unlike many of her co-stars, Lynch maintained a relatively stable personal life, having been married to producer Mitch Glazer for decades. However, the pressures of Hollywood and the industry's ageism weighed heavily on her, leading to periods of deep insecurity and professional frustration. Though she never faced the tragic fates of some of her Roadhouse co-stars, she has largely faded from the public eye, now living in quiet obscurity at 66 years old in 2025. Marshall R. Teague played Jimmy in Roadhouse, 1989, at 36, embodying the ruthless, unhinged enforcer with terrifying intensity. His performance was unforgettable, but it came at a cost. Hollywood saw him only as a villain, leaving him typecast in low-budget action films. Desperate to break free, he pursued more serious roles, but the industry was unforgiving. His personal life was no better. His first marriage disintegrated due to his explosive temper and heavy drinking, leaving his children to grow up without him. A near-fatal car crash in 2012 shattered his body, forcing him through years of painful surgeries and rehabilitation. Though he physically recovered, his career never did, and his past mistakes haunted him. Now, at 71 in 2025, he lives in seclusion, estranged from his children, his body racked with pain from old injuries, spending his days reliving the past and wondering what went wrong. Sam Elliott played Wade Garrett in Roadhouse, 1989, at 45, portraying the grizzled, wise, and fiercely loyal mentor to Dalton. Wade was a man hardened by years of bar fights, carrying the weight of experience with a cynical but protective nature. Elliott, with his deep voice and rugged charm, became a Hollywood staple, yet the industry often boxed him into cowboy and tough guy roles, limiting his creative ambitions. His marriage to Catherine Ross endured, but not without turbulence. Jealousy over career trajectories and long periods apart led to painful separations. Their daughter, Cleo, struggled with mental health issues, culminating in a violent incident that deeply fractured the family. Despite a successful career, Elliott's body suffered from years of stunt work, leaving him in constant pain, addicted to painkillers he refused to acknowledge as a problem. Now, at 80 in 2025, he lives a quiet life in California, his once commanding presence diminished by age and arthritis. Julie Michaels played Denise in Roadhouse, 1989, at just 19, portraying a seductive yet troubled woman trapped in a violent world. Hollywood fixated on her beauty, offering her roles that prioritized appearance over talent, forcing her to pivot to stunt work. Though she thrived as a stunt performer, the job took a severe toll. Multiple spinal injuries left her with chronic pain, forcing her to retire early. Her marriage to Pearson Blates was loving but tested by their inability to have children, a quiet sorrow that lingered between them. In 2018, she was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, draining her strength and making even daily tasks a struggle. The industry moved on, leaving her behind. Now, at 54 in 2025, she lives away from Hollywood, her body weakened by injuries and illness, her contributions to film reduced to fleeting moments few remember. Kevin Tighe portrayed Frank Tillman in Roadhouse, 1989, at 45, embodying the desperate yet hopeful bar owner seeking salvation for the double deuce. Tillman was a man who believed in change but lacked the strength to enforce it, relying on others to fight his battles. Though he had achieved success with Emergency in the 1970s, his later career was riddled with disappointments, with Hollywood relegating him to minor roles in television and film. Financial instability plagued him, worsened by reckless investments that left him on the brink of bankruptcy. His personal life followed a similar trajectory. Divorced twice, he found himself estranged from his only daughter, who resented his absence during her childhood. The most tragic blow came in 2009 when his younger brother died by suicide, a loss that sent Tighe into a spiral of guilt and despair. By 2025, now 80 years old, he lives a solitary existence, suffering from severe arthritis that has rendered him nearly immobile. Kathleen Wilhoite brought vibrant energy to the role of Carrie in Roadhouse, 1989, at just 25 years old. Her character was the beating heart of the Double Deuce, a waitress whose laughter masked the chaos around her. She dazzled in supporting roles in Murphy's Law and ER, yet Hollywood never granted her the breakout she longed for. Struggling with rejection, she turned to music, but every album seemed to vanish into obscurity. Love, too, proved unkind. Her first marriage collapsed under the weight of addiction, and her second, to musician David Hart, was marred by financial ruin. Their son, James, drifted away in adolescence, drawn into a world of delinquency she could not save him from. The industry forgot her, gigs dwindled, and she watched former co-stars thrive while she toiled in obscurity. In 2025, at 60, she lives in near seclusion, surviving on residuals that barely cover medical bills for her chronic pain. John Doe stepped into the role of Pat McGurn in Roadhouse, 1989, at the age of 36, crafting a character who was as cowardly as he was conniving. McGurn was a weasel, hiding behind the power of others, never strong enough to stand on his own. Though Doe found moderate success as a musician and actor, his career never solidified into anything lasting. A man of many talents but no singular breakthrough, he drifted between projects, forever on the fringes of stardom. His personal life was a mirror of his career, scattered, unfulfilled, and marred by heartbreak. A brief, tumultuous marriage ended in divorce, and his attempts at fatherhood were riddled with regret as he remained an absent figure in his son's life. The weight of failure bore down on him, leading him to years of substance abuse that eroded both his health and his relationships. In 2025, now 72 years old, he continues to play music in small venues, his voice a shadow of what it once was. Travis McKenna played the affable Jack in Roadhouse, 1989, when he was 27, his character the ever-reliable comic relief. His jovial presence on screen masked the personal battles waged beyond the camera's reach. A promising start in Batman Returns and Roadhouse fizzled into a string of forgettable roles and outright unemployment. Typecast and discarded, his weight became a cruel joke in an industry obsessed with appearance. Love eluded him, every relationship soured under the burden of insecurity and financial instability. His only solace was food, which became both a comfort and a prison. A failed engagement in his early 40s left him spiraling, and estrangement from his family deepened his isolation. By his 50s, medical issues piled up: diabetes, hypertension, sleep apnea, all exacerbated by years of neglect. In 2025, at 64, he lives in a small, cluttered apartment, his acting days long behind him, his phone silent, and his heart heavy with the weight of unfulfilled promise. Gary Hudson, who embodied the hard-nosed bouncer Steve in Roadhouse, 1989, at 33, was once a staple of action television, a face known but never quite famous. His career peaked in the late 80s with Dynasty and Walker, Texas Ranger, but by the 2000s, the calls slowed, and desperation set in. A string of ill-advised investments drained his finances, leaving him reliant on convention appearances and minor TV cameos. Love, too, proved elusive. His whirlwind marriage to an aspiring actress ended in bitter divorce, their 2 children caught in the wreckage. His daughter, Olivia, ceased contact at 18, unwilling to witness his descent into alcoholism and self-destruction. His son, Eric, followed a similar path, a troubled soul lost to addiction. The guilt consumed Gary, aging him beyond his years. In 2025, at 68, he lives in obscurity, battling liver disease, his once chiseled features now hollowed by time and regret. Anthony DeLonges brought ruthless intensity to Ketchum in Roadhouse, 1989, when he was 39, his character a force of brutality and skill. A lifelong martial artist, Anthony thrived on precision and discipline, but the Hollywood machine cared little for longevity. He trained A-listers, choreographed legendary fights, yet never claimed the spotlight for himself. His personal life was a battlefield. His first wife left after years of feeling overshadowed by his obsession with perfecting his craft. His second marriage fared no better. His relentless pursuit of mastery left no room for tenderness, and she too departed, taking their only child with her. His career dwindled to instructional videos and low-budget action flicks that barely paid the bills. By his 60s, injuries caught up with him, his body a roadmap of fractures and torn ligaments. Now 75 in 2025, he lives in chronic pain, teaching small classes in a rundown dojo, haunted by what could have been, a warrior without a war, a master without a legacy. Patricia Tallman portrayed the bandstand babe in Roadhouse in 1989 at the age of 32. Her character was vibrant and full of energy, always enhancing the club's wild atmosphere. Though she gained recognition for her stunt work and later for Babylon 5, Hollywood never fully embraced her as an actress. Relegated to dangerous stunts, she suffered multiple injuries that left her body in constant pain, forcing her into early retirement. She married producer Jeffrey Willarth, but the marriage crumbled under financial strain and career frustrations, leading to a bitter divorce. Left to raise their son Julian alone, she struggled to find stability, often facing financial hardship. As the industry moved on without her, she fell into deep depression, haunted by missed opportunities and physical limitations. By 2025, at 67, she lives a quiet life, making rare public appearances at conventions, but the loneliness of an unfulfilled career weighs heavily on her. Joe Unger gave life to the cunning Carpus in Roadhouse, 1989, at 40, his character a man of schemes and survival. Off-screen, his career mirrored that of his roles, scraping by, never the lead, always just another face in the crowd. He had one near breakthrough with A Nightmare on Elm Street but never quite capitalized on it. His love life was a series of disappointments, 2 failed marriages, both dissolving under financial strain and personal demons. His only son, Ethan, barely spoke to him, resentful of a father who was more shadow than presence. By the 2010s, his health declined, heart issues, a bout with lung cancer, the consequences of a lifetime of chain smoking. In 2025, at 75, he remains frail and forgotten, living in a small rented room, relying on social security, each day a slow march toward the inevitable, his name remembered only by the most devoted of cult cinema fans. Laura Albert portrayed the strip joint girl in Roadhouse in 1989 at the age of 24. Her character was bold, seductive, and fearless, yet in reality, Laura struggled with self-doubt and rejection in Hollywood. After years of chasing roles that never materialized, she was forced to take low-paying modeling gigs and background parts just to survive. A passionate relationship with a film producer ended in betrayal when he left her for a younger actress, leaving her emotionally shattered and financially drained. She never married or had children, dedicating herself entirely to a career that never rewarded her. The loneliness of her life became unbearable, leading to struggles with depression and alcohol dependency. By 2025, at 59, she lives in near anonymity, working at a local bar, where customers sometimes recognize her from her brief moments of fame, reminding her of a dream that slipped through her fingers. Lisa Michelle Axelrod played the party girl in Roadhouse in 1989, when she was just 22 years old. The party girl embodied reckless abandon, a woman intoxicated by the thrill of the night. Much like her character, Lisa lived for the moment, diving headfirst into the Hollywood scene, but her career never reached the heights she had dreamed of. Despite early promise, she found herself typecast in roles that emphasized her beauty rather than her talent. Her personal life was a series of misfortunes. She married a struggling musician, hoping for a passionate and artistic partnership, but the relationship was plagued by financial ruin and infidelity. They had one daughter, Sophie, but Lisa was often too consumed by her own emotional turmoil to be the mother she wanted to be. Alcohol and substance abuse became her solace, an escape from the brutal reality of a failed career and a broken marriage. In 2025, at the age of 57, Lisa lives in near isolation, estranged from her daughter and barely making ends meet. Who is your favorite character from Roadhouse? How do you feel knowing that some of the actors have passed away? Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this content, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss future videos. Thank you so much.